We're going to do a little game. So who has been in the business the shortest amount of time? That's the first one. So literally when you got your license. So if it was last week, you probably will win. So who here thinks they are shortest amount of time in the business? When was that? July 6th. Who can beat July 6th? July 19th? Ooh, August 3rd? 1st of July? Okay. July 3rd. So I got an August though. Who can beat August? August going once. August going twice. Oh, we got some early prizes. Now let's do the longest in the business. I'll stay out of this one because I know I'm 24 years. 18. Who can beat 18? Ooh, 31. I don't think anyone's beating that. 31? Bam, bam.
Oh yeah, drop the mic.
Let's move on. We've got a fun guest today. Emily Brown, are you here? The thing that I want to talk about before this, so good so far? You guys getting a lot out of this? Yeah. Okay, cool. Masterminds to me are really important. And so has anyone read Think and Grow Rich, the book?
Listening to it right now.
Yeah, so number 2 in that book, which is Napoleon Hill, he talked to the wealthiest people in the whole land, I don't know, years and years ago, and their biggest thing was mastermind. Number 2 was get involved in a mastermind. And I've been involved in masterminds that I meet once a week for 15 years. And that's how we started this whole mastermind idea. What I love about them is like every month, this is like a mini conference. And if you don't go to conferences, start going to conferences. They're life-changing, the people that you meet, the stuff that you do. Anyway, I want to introduce Emily because we're going to be talking about expired listings. So for those that don't know, I started my business on expireds. That was the shift that Mike Ferry taught me. He taught me a process. And the process was, hey, by the way, you could do real estate like the first 7 years of your career where you just let the deals come to you or you let the day happen to you, or you could have systems and processes where you could go and take control of the day. And what Mike taught me was that I could come in at a certain time, I could role play with a bunch of different people, I could learn my skill by doing the role plays every single day and get better at my craft. And when I started doing this, I was the weirdo in my office. This was up in Michigan. We had about 45 agents. I was like 1 or 2 at the company. And they were like, what is she doing in there? Role playing? That's so weird. So I was weird, but guess what? The weirdos become rich. And so be weird and rich. Emily, I met Emily, is it 8 years ago now, Em?
Yeah, that sounds right. 7, maybe 7.
7 years ago. So Emily came to us from another state. She grew up in Cary, actually, and she, I was going to say auditioned to join our team. You auditioned. You interviewed to join our team. Of course, we hired her on the spot. And for the first several years of her career, she sold 30 to 40 homes, but almost 100% were buyers, right?
Yeah.
So Emily transitioned to I took her to a Mike Ferry event, and so the light bulb went off, and then she came back, and slowly she kind of got into calling expireds. So last year she sold, I think, about 65 homes. So more than half of those were expired listings, which, you know, I mean, how many would like to list 30 homes this year from expireds? Yay, that'd be fun. And after this, we're going to talk to Charity about FSBOs. And so, so I've got some questions for you, but who would like to see her role play an expired script after she's done? Yay, lots of people. Okay, so first thing, I want to talk about is what inspired you to focus on expired listings? Because that is a source that a lot of agents reject and they don't want to do. They're scared of them. So what made you kind of say, okay, I got to do this?
Yeah. Well, before I answer that question, I think it's what got me into even cold calling in the first place. Like you said, I was very buyer heavy. I think I maybe took, when you said I sold 30 to 40 homes, I'd say maybe 2 of those were listings. And I had gotten to this point of pain during the COVID market when everybody that was in the market during that time remembers, you know, putting offers in 50 to 100,000 over listing price. I was gone all weekend, 9 to 5. It was exhausting. And so I had gotten to the point where I had felt like I hit rock bottom and I was just worn out. And that year I went to a Mike Ferry event and I was talking to all these high producing agents, and the underlying message was, you've got to learn how to take listings and you've got to figure out how to prospect. Majority of these agents are making 500 or $1 million plus a year. And I'd say maybe 5 to 10% of their business comes from buyers. And so I observed and listened to them and asked a lot of questions, and it all came down to picking up the phone, learning scripts and prospecting. So I don't know why I gravitated towards expireds versus FSBOs or circle prospecting, but I learned the script for expireds. It seemed easy and straightforward. It's just very much just asking a lot of good questions. And I was like, well, this seems easy if I internalize the script and I learn how to ask questions, which I ask a lot of questions, and in general, I feel like I could win at this. So it was mainly the pain of going through working with a lot of buyers and hitting rock bottom and getting exhausted, and then going to the Mike Ferry event and learning from high producing agents that you got to pick up the phone and make calls.
So I want to put this in context because when I first met Mike 16 years ago, I flew out to the event and I sat in the back of the room and I listened to I had the same experience Emily did. It's like all these high producing agents are making, I was making 40 grand at that point. They're making 400, 500, $1 million a year, $100,000 a month. I remember taking a screenshot of a guy's, his number analyzer, and I was like, I want to do that one day. And so a lot of people get turned off by talking about money. I don't know about you guys, but we need to talk about it more, because if you are rejecting it and you're uncomfortable talking about it, it is not going to follow you. And so you have to be okay with it. And so, we talk about money here all the time. I mean, I'm going to share a little more than, she gets a little uncomfortable. She's good with it now. But like, she's on a team over $400,000 in GCI on a team. She doesn't have a lot of expenses. So think about that. She's one of our top 100 agents, her and Minda in our town out of 10,000 realtors, and she's on a team. So I think it's really important to understand, like, when you break into another source, you can take control of the business. And Emily's personality, she's a D, C, so she's a high C, high D. So why I think she loved this is her analytical side of her said, oh my God, there's a process. I just have to read this script and get really good at it and then go talk to people. Okay, I'll do it. That's why she likes this. So she's also a DT on the Working Genius. So she likes to get tasks done and she's got good discernment. So you decided to come back, and I remember when you'd be in the room hiding, doing your calls. How did it feel in the beginning as you started to make the calls? Because I'm sure they weren't really easy and you weren't excited about it.
Yeah, I mean, about what you would think. I mean, it was uncomfortable. I remember hanging up the phone. If I would stutter or mess up on my script, I would be like, oops, bye, hang up the phone. I'll just go on to the next one. And it's like, they don't know who you are. And it doesn't really matter. So, I mean, I literally probably sounded like a robot for the first month or two because I'm reading a script. I hadn't internalized it yet. And that's okay. I think we all start at that point, and you just have to get through that first initial. For me, it took probably a month and a half, maybe 2 months to not sound robotic. It was also listening to other high producing agents that had internalized the script and just like picking up on the little nuances and, the little zinger words and things that they would say that they would incorporate into the script. So I did a lot of listening and observing from other top producing agents throughout the country, and then practicing repetition. And then eventually over time, just like with anything, it finally sticks and things start taking off after that. So I think most agents don't give themselves enough credit, and they give up after a month or two. They don't get the results, or they don't like the way they feel. So you just have to learn how to push through that initial pain and boredom for the first month or two, and then just give yourself some time and know that it'll eventually work.
When you go back to our little triangle thing and we talk about you learned to process, then you practice, then you had to have patience because it's very frustrating. And then all of a sudden, when did you feel like, okay, I'm getting these, I think last year was a great year for you. You felt really empowered.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, once you have one win, I still remember the first expired that I took, and you gain so much confidence from that. And then you get the credibility and the praise from your client. And then that builds up, and then the next call is even better, and the next listing appointment is even better. And so it was just that compound effect of just getting that reassurance and getting the praise from the clients. And I'm like, okay, I'm good at this. I know what I'm doing. And then I don't want to say it was easy, but things just kind of started happening from there. So probably 2 months before I really felt confident to not hang up the phone on people.
Yeah, I mean, I think when you're working with buyers and sellers, it gets easy because you know what you're doing. This is the same thing. It's like riding a bike. It just gets easy. So for those of you that are newer, because there's people that have been licensed a couple weeks and a couple months, expired is a listing that, let's say Eric Anderson took a listing and he overpriced it because he listened to his seller and then he was too weak to actually go back to the seller and get the price reduced. I would call his listing after it expired, so the contract is over, and I would call and I would try to interview for the job of selling that home. So there's no shame in that game, but a lot of realtors get their panties in a bunch about it. Oh, you're calling expired. Well, they're not sold. You didn't sell them, so it's free game now. And a lot of people used to get mad. I remember at my office, like, why are you calling me expired? Because they're raising their hand. That's like the hottest lead in town. I'm going to call it. What is your process before we get into the role play? Because I want to make sure we're good on time. So process. We are very much a disciplined, like we treat our job here at Call Group like a job, because what happens in real estate, you get in for freedom and then you're broke because you want freedom. That just doesn't correlate. But when you worked in corporate America, you had to punch in and punch out, and you'd be fired if you acted the same way that you do in your job in corporate America in real estate. So Emily wakes up at a certain time, you've got your little routine. Talk to them about your routine of practice and how you get on the phones and what your morning looks like, because the morning is the most important thing.
The morning is the most important. Yeah. That's when you have the most energy and you feel the best. As the day progresses, noise starts entering, you get the emails and text, and then it's just, so distracting. So the earlier you can get on, the better. And not every day, but I try to get on by 8 o'clock. I'm not going to say I do that Monday through Friday, but that's the goal, is to be on at least by 8 or maybe a few minutes before. Right now I have 2 role play partners. I used to have 4. It's dwindled to 2. So I try to get on 2 days a week, Tuesdays and Thursdays, jump on a quick 30-minute role play call. And just, for me, I'm just going through the expired script, and we throw a couple objections at each other. It's very much like 30 minutes and then we're off. So 7:30, quick role play. I'll go for 15, they'll go for 15, and then we'll hang up, and then I'm on the phones by 8. Goal is to get at least 2 hours of lead gen in, calling the new expireds first. It can be anywhere from 3 to 25, depending on the time of the month. And then after that, I'll go into my follow-up and calling the expireds from the previous day that I didn't get a hold of. So if I can knock out and get 2 hours of good prospecting in, then it's a win. That doesn't happen every day because distractions come up, appointments come up, life happens, but that's the main.
Or you have babies.
Yeah.
She just had a baby a week ago.
Yeah. I'll admit I'm not calling expireds right now, so.
You're allowed to take a break, Emily Brown. Yeah, you're allowed.
Maybe I'll just go get them because they're out there. I'm not calling them.
That's right. Yeah, a cute little baby to take care of. But going back to role play, so when people are like, "What's role?" It's so they hate it. Real estate agents hate it. But why role play? Like, isn't it boring?
Yeah, it's just like practicing, right? I mean, with any sports team, I mean, they're out practicing before the game. So you don't want to just start cold. You want to just kind of get the word vomit out, get ramped up. It's also nice to have a friendly voice on the other end of the phone to start.
Yeah, it does get boring.
Yeah.
But I think that's what we were taught. We were taught by Mike, hey, you wake up with purpose, you get dressed, you're open for business, your hair's done. Even if you sit at home, I used to prospect from home. I had my dialer. I looked just like this in my office at home. Because what if I needed to run out to an appointment? I don't have time to take a shower. I got to go. There's $10,000, $7,000 on the line. I'm not going to sit at home being lazy, right? So like, you're very driven for your purpose and your vision of your life. And I think that's also what propelled you to do hard things.
No, like you said, I wake up and I'll put my makeup on, put professional clothing on, feeling like I'm going into the office. I prospect from home. I don't go into the office now, but like you said, that's so important just to get your mindset straight before you start making the calls. Yeah, you definitely work hard. So a couple questions. People want to know, well, what dialer do you use? I mean, I think you use Espresso Agent. Yeah, Espresso, which is pretty much the same thing as Vulcan, if most people are familiar with. Vulcan 7. Mm-hmm. There's Mojo Dialer. There's lots of dialers. So you just look up dialers and you can find one. And those are systems that pull numbers, scrub numbers for sell by owners, expireds, circle prospecting. Like Jeff was talking about open houses. If I want to take over a neighborhood, I'm going to pull all the numbers from that neighborhood. And I'm going to call, hey, Susie, I'm a local neighbor in your neighborhood. We just listed a home. We just sold a home. My first listing I ever took
I'll thank Linda Trevor at Remax 15 years ago. I was new. Kevin and I just walked into this market and we didn't have anybody to call. And we would call all the listings of the Remax agents that they just listed because they weren't calling them. And we'd say, hi, our company, we just listed a home in your neighborhood. Who do you know? And this lady said to me, oh, I'm thinking of selling. I'm like, oh, I sell real estate. And that was my first appointment. I did not get the appointment, but that was still exciting, right? I just called blanket calls. So they're not just for expireds and FSBOs. It's also to get deals going in your market or your farm. So, all right, are you ready to do an expired? Because it's 11:16. We ready?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll be the seller. So,
Ring, ring.
hello?
Hi, is this Tina?
Yes.
Hey, Tina, this is Emily Brown. I'm a local real estate agent in Cary. Real quick, I was giving you a call. I noticed your home unfortunately came off the market as an expired listing this morning. And I was just calling to see, when are you planning on hiring an agent for the job of selling your property?
No, you're like the 7th agent that's called me this morning. So we are just taking it off the market, taking a break.
And I understand you're probably been getting inundated. It's 8:15. I'm sure you've probably received 5 or 10 phone calls already. And I'm sure it wasn't your expectation this morning that you're going to get bombarded with phone calls. Tina, I can be sure to take your number off my list. But real quick, while I have you on the phone, I mean, I know your neighborhood very well. Our office is actually right around the corner from you. I looked at the photos before I called you. It looks like it shows really well. Obviously, you're in a great location. Is there any reason why you were even considering selling the home in the first place?
Yeah, I mean, again, we were getting a lot of calls. We decided to take it off the market because we put a lot of money into this house, as you can see, and we're just not going to give it away. I mean, that's for sure. So
yeah, sure. Well, I can appreciate you sharing that with me. And the more you're willing to share, the better I can be at providing information that can be helpful or useful in some way. Is it still important that you sell the property at some point, or have things completely changed forever for you?
I mean, we still probably will sell. We're just kind of going to take a reset here and kind of assess the situation.
Okay, take a quick reset and kind of let it breathe a little bit, as I like to say. So selling is not permanently out of the equation. So I guess you're not clear on why the home didn't sell and what needs to change to ensure it does. So if you don't mind me asking, Tina, how did you happen to pick the agent that you hired for the job of selling your home the first time?
Oh, I met him at an open house.
Oh, you met him. Okay. Okay, sure. Was that pretty much just worked an open house in your neighborhood, or what was the main reason why you hired him?
He like knocked on our door and told us to come see a neighbor's house. I really didn't interview anybody. I wish I would have.
Okay, so just out of convenience, so you met him and thought, okay, he's got a license and good enough.
Yeah, I mean, he was, he did a good job. He had like little candies in the dish. He was personable, but
Yeah.
we really didn't interview many people because we moved here 7 years ago, so we didn't know a lot of people. But anyway, I mean, that's how we met him.
Sure, and that's how a lot of sellers pick their agents, out of just convenience, a neighbor, a friend, somebody they meet at an open house. So let me ask you this, did your agent give you any kind of reason as far as why the home didn't sell? What was the communication like?
Well, he just kept asking me to lower my price, but that was the price he picked. I mean, we picked it together, and I was firm with what I wanted, and I just felt like it was a lot of bait and switch, like you take my listing and then all of a sudden now it's overpriced after 2 weeks. Like, I just felt like that was insincere.
Yeah, I can see. And that's often the tactic that most agents take, is let's just lower the price, and there's no real effort put forth. So I noticed you had 15 reductions in the history. I don't know if you're aware that we can see that on the back end, but it looks like you guys started at 800,000 and you guys just kept week after week lowering it by $5,000-$6,000. So it seems like maybe that was the only strategy that he was willing to take. So other than that, and by the way, I'll let you go soon because I know you're probably in the middle of your workday. Was there any other feedback that you got from actual agents that showed the property, anything constructive that was helpful to you?
Well, I mean, they did, we did get some comments that, the price was too high, and that our backyard was, there was a lot of noise from one of the roads that, were near. But again, I mean, I just said, bring me an offer. I mean, do you have a buyer?
I may, it's interesting because, like I said, your house is literally right around the corner from us, and most agents reach out to our team. We hyper focus in the Lockmere subdivision. And I'm surprised that your agent didn't reach out to our group to let us know about the listing, just because we sell quite a few homes in your pocket there. And I can't remember if I asked this already, but where did you say, Tina, you were moving to once you do sell the property?
Well, we were going to move to Fuquay. We just wanted to downsize a little bit. My husband and I, the house is just too big for us, and we wanted to build out there. There's a neighborhood that's perfect for us, with one story, like everything on one level.
Okay, so you guys wanted to downsize something a little bit smaller. I know you're coming from 4,000 square feet, so moved a few away. So, okay. So Tina, based on what you shared with me, I'm hearing a couple things clearly. First is you do still want to make the move happen. And the second is that you're not clear as to why your home didn't sell and what changes we can make in terms of approach that would allow you to accomplish your goals and objectives. So what I'd like to do is, like I said, my office is right around the corner from you. I'd love to pop by just for 15, 20 minutes, meet with you, and share with you what we need to do to reposition your property on the market, get it to sell quickly. Would it be okay if I pop by later this afternoon around 4, or would 6 o'clock be better?
I don't know. I mean, I probably should talk to my husband, Kevin. He's just, he's kind of out of it right now. He's disappointed. He just said we should take a break. So maybe you could just email me some info.
Yeah, I'm happy to send an email as well. I would love to, if you don't mind, I would love to just pop by again. It won't even come with a contract. I'd love to take a look at it. I don't want to overpromise, but there's a chance we may very well have a buyer. My team and I, we have 50 agents just within our group, so would love to be able to lay eyes on it so I can share with the team and then chat with you a little bit more about, what we can do whenever the time comes. No pressure.
All right. I mean, that's fine. We're not going to sign anything.
Okay, and I'll leave the car running, like I said, just 10 or 15 minutes. Right around the corner. So what I'm going to do, Tina, let me grab your email so I can send you just some quick information about myself and team. And then I'm going to send you a quick text when we get off the phone as well. So you've got my direct line. And
all right. It's blah, blah.
Okay, perfect. And I'll plan on seeing you later this afternoon. I'll shoot you a text when I'm on my way.
Awesome. Thank you. Let's give her a round of applause. Fantastic. All right. So what did you guys notice? Give me some what you noticed. She asked a lot of questions, right? What else did you guys notice?
A
lot of mirroring and matching and repeating and approving. Kind of disarmed me. Like at first I was annoyed. So all these agents are calling me. And now by the end of it, I was like, she wasn't that aggressive, but she was pleasantly persistent. Right? Because that's how I felt like, when I'm on the calls with expireds, I'm pleasantly persistent. I'm not like, when are you going to hire the best agent in the world? Like those are some of the scripts, and they're very aggressive. And but that's great for some people if that's their personality. But I know you're more amiable when it comes to your approach.
Yeah, I think the approach is try to connect with people emotionally. I can promise you, if you connect with them on an emotional level versus a sales tactic level, that they're going to stay on the phone with you longer. Because it feels almost like a therapy session, and most of them are upset and angry and frustrated. So when you can give them that outlet to be able to vent and just kind of get things off their chest a little bit, almost do the takeaway. Like, I don't have to list your home. I understand you don't want to sell. That disarms them to the point where they're like, okay, I think I trust this person. They're not coming after me for my listing. So.
Yeah. And I love just pop on by. It's like, hey, I'm just going to pop on by, leave the car running, like it's disarming. Okay, fine. And sometimes now, how many times on your first conversation, this is another key point, because that was an easier role play. Sometimes they're grumpier and they will not give you the appointment. How many times on average do you have to follow up or have conversations with the same person? Let's say I didn't give you the appointment. Like, no, Emily, you sound lovely, but we're just keeping it off the market. How would you end if I said, absolutely not, don't pop by?
I'd say, okay, well, no worries. I don't want to, pressure you to do anything that you're not comfortable doing. How about this? Can I grab your email address really quick? I'll send you some quick information on myself and team. You can put a face to the name. I think I heard you mention you're looking to sell in the next 6 to 8 months. Would it be okay if I followed up with you in the next month or two just to see if anything's changed with your timeline? And they're usually, okay, sure. And then I'll send them some information on us, our Zillow reviews, whatever. And then it takes 7 to 10 times. I mean, honestly, the majority of the listings that I take is from the follow-up. I hate to say it's just a one and done, one phone call out that afternoon and we're signed.
Because I don't want to give everybody false hope. Like you're just going to get every expired the first time. Like there are some that you get, right? They give you an appointment and you either don't get them because they list with a cheaper agent or they had a friend or whatever. I mean, it's a process, and the goal is to get 1 or 2 appointments a day. And if you have 5 or 6 appointments a week, 2 or 3 are gonna cancel. Like my goal was to get 1 or 2 a day. 1 would cancel, 1 I would go on, and I would get 80, 8 out of 10 is the goal. In the beginning, it was like 5 out of 10 as you're learning, because these are not warm leads. They don't know you, and you've got to really build that rapport with them.
Yeah, that's why I always try to find some kind of commonality, like, oh, your neighborhood, and actually, if it is, I'm not gonna lie, but you're right around the corner from our office. We sell a lot of homes in that area. Sometimes I'll pull up the MLS as I'm talking to them and were you aware that there were, 5 homes that sold within the past month in your community? So then they feel like I'm the expert. I know the stats. Little things like that, just to make them feel like, okay, she knows what she's talking about. She's got real statistics. She knows the market.
Yeah, I love it. Any questions for Emily? Yes. If they refuse to give you their email, let's just say, no, I just don't want to give out my email. It's my work email and I don't feel comfortable. Like, are you bugging them a week later, a day later? What's your cadence there?
Depends. If I feel like there's still an opportunity to get it, I'll push maybe one more time, but I don't want to piss them off either. I'll call them again that weekend. They won't remember me.
Because it's true, but that's right there.
True. I mean, they do.
When you guys get a call from a telemarketer, do you remember them if they were to call you 3 days later? No. Like, we take ourselves way too seriously, right? And Kevin, you said this in one of our meetings. We're taxi driver number 32 in everyone's movie. Like, we're just there. We're a blip on their radar. So she could probably call that lady back 2 days later and they won't even remember the conversation, but you'll remember it. Hype yourself up. Oh, I don't want to bother them. Oh God, I'm bothering them. They don't even know you. They don't care.
No, I do that a lot. I'll call them, or I'll call them from another number. I use a burner app, so I'll call on my personal line. At the end of the day, I'm not going to stress over it. There's so much business out there, so I don't get myself worked up over that one call. If it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. I move on to the next one. But if I feel like there's opportunity there based on the way they responded to my questions, and I feel like they're motivated and they do need to sell, then I might, pursue them a little bit more. So it's kind of like being a doctor and you have to diagnose the patient and figure out, what you can do to help. Not everybody can be helped. So if I feel like it's kind of a dead lead and it's not worth pursuing, then I'll trash them.
Yeah, and I think you have to have a lot of self-awareness, a lot of EQ, like to not be annoy them and use your discernment to go, am I really bugging these people or not? Like, you got to weave and flow. So I think for some people, they're like, I'm not good on my feet. Well, you'll get better as you practice, but some people truly, are not that great at them. So I think it's definitely an art, but you said the right thing. It's abundance mindset. There's just so much business, you guys. There's so much business. Joe, you had a question. Just for everybody on Zoom, is there a system that you use to tag in your CRM when you're calling these people 7 to 10 times? Like, what system do you use to keep yourself on track?
Yeah. So there's a built-in CRM with any of the dialers that you call Vulcan Espresso. So after I have a conversation, if they're going to go into my follow-up boss, I do the drop down and I tag them in follow-up. That goes in Espresso. And then I take those leads every day and I pull them into follow-up boss manually. And then, yes, I tag them as an expired and I set a reminder to call them in 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month, whatever I feel is necessary. So there's always going to be a reminder for a follow-up task to reach back out to that lead. That's the best thing that I do is everybody gets a reminder to call them at a but yes, they get tagged as expired, hashtag expired.
Okay, so she's doing a task afterwards.
She's doing a task afterwards in the
okay.
CRM, because that CRM, it gives you that task. So every day you're opening up the CRM, the numbers are populated, you've got your task.
I said there's always somebody to call from follow-up. I mean, I have so many follow-ups with expired, so every day after I finish the morning of calling the new expireds, and I'm going into the follow-up, and there's always 5 to 10 follow-ups for the expireds. Oh, I need to call Susie from 3 weeks ago. She said they're going to be interviewing agents in the next month, so go ahead and call her. So that's the best thing you can do is set yourself a reminder.
And the thing is, it's like if you're in your CRM doing your job every day, which our job is to be telemarketers every day. Our job is to be inside sales associates in the morning and then outside sales associates in the afternoon. So we're servicing, but we're generating in the morning. you can't have this level of success with any lead source if you're not doing the follow-up, like let me see what's in my CRM today, let me see what's in my CRM today, because even you're doing your buyer follow-ups, your past client follow-ups, your listings, you've got to do Friday feedback calls. I mean, there's a lot to do when you're selling homes in high volume, and so you have to have that structured attitude or it just will fall apart and you'll feel like you're flailing all the time, and then it won't be fun, and then you'll probably give up and you have those vicious cycles of this. Who has this? Woo, yeah, woo, yeah. That's because we don't have consistency in our day, and you know what I mean? So you'll have the roller coaster.
When you were calling expireds, you had an actual like box with flashcards, right? Or index cards on your.
Oh yeah, I did. I hate CRMs. So, I mean, our agents should use them, but I hate them. So, well, because my CRM was literally, if you guys hate CRMs, little note cards in your little box, January through December. I talked to Emily today. I write down all my notes, and she said 6 months. I'm going to cut it in half in 3, and so it's what, September. I'm going to put that for November or December. When I open up my little tab for December, there's my 15 follow-ups right there. So for those anti-CRMers, like, you can try to love it. I just think our brains don't work that way. My brain works with paper, old-fashioned here. So
Hey,
Awesome.
Can we ask one more thing?
Yeah, one more thing.
Does she ever do the reverse, where she starts with the oldest expireds? Like, is she finding any success with old expireds as well?
Yeah, that's part of the process. He said, do you find any success with older expireds? Do you add them in? And
I do, yeah. And there was an agent I was talking to, and she said, I'm getting really frustrated. I'm not getting the answers that I used to get. And I've experienced the same thing. I think because it's an election year, everybody's getting solicitation calls. And the answer rate has gone down, I'll admit that. So I kind of get frustrated, so I will go back a year. I just took a listing 3 weeks ago for a house, and it was expired back in 2022, I think, end of 2022. I was just frustrated. I was like, oh, no one's answering, let me go back. And yeah, I mean, those are great sources to call because they're not getting cold called every day like the new ones are. So all day long, I would be calling the old ones.
And you got to remember too, the newest expireds are going to be the hottest, the best conversion, but the highest level of skill because they're mad, they're angry, and you got to be really good at your game. The oldest expireds, they're easier, they're going to answer the phone, they're disarmed, but they're going to be a longer conversion because they're not motivated. I mean, they're you know what I mean? A year's gone by, 6 months has gone by. So great to practice on old expireds, but you're not going to get as much good practice on the ones that are going to turn over. So, well, you're awesome. Thank you. Congrats on your success. And go kiss that baby for us. So.